It's still the conversation on Kaftan Television. Today we're looking at challenges of cancer in developing countries. With me in the studio to do justice to this topic, I have in person of Dorothy Nuhu Akinova. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you for having me here.
It's lovely having you. So today we're talking about cancer. What can you tell us is your understanding of what cancer is?
My understanding is that there are cells in the body that just decide for some reason to behave in a very erratic manner. They would reproduce uncontrollably and they would not die. Wow. And that is not normal of normal body cells.
So, interesting. Now, why is this disease prevalent in developing countries?
Well, because one, we don't have the awareness. Two, we don't have the systems in place to help people dictate early, treat, and diagnose. And finally, we are so religious-driven that even when there are issues that are as serious as cancer, we choose and prefer to go into corners and pray about it instead of going to the hospital. So it's bound to be everywhere. It looks like it's everywhere. It's because we are not managing it well.
Okay, speaking of management, why are we not managing it well? Is it not the place of the government to put healthcare, proper healthcare for the people to be able to access, you know, all the screenings and all necessary, you know, processing when it comes to cancer?
I agree with you. The government has a big responsibility. Yes, they should have a system in place that enables people to have regular checkup, which will help with detection. They should have systems in place that enable people afford quality lifestyles, healthy diet, exercise. Like, I don't need to go pay a gym subscription. There should be government sports, recreational facilities that enable us go, you know, and just run away. And those are helpful for prevention. There should be continuous, sustained, aggressive sensitization of the populace. Because without that, people will see the signs and they won't take action. And government has the structure, government has the resources to reach every single individual in Nigeria with accurate information on cancers. But this is not happening. So I agree, yes, it's government responsibility. The diagnostic centers are very few and they are poorly equipped, you know. So government does have a lot of responsibility.
Speaking of diagnostic centers, now cancer is on the rise. Everybody knows about it. And why is it that, you know, we have diagnostic centers, not like we don't, but why is it not accessible to the poor? When it comes to treatment of cancer, it's very expensive. If you have money, you fly yourself out of the country to get proper treatment. How do you think the government can make it accessible to the poor? Because we have poor people that are dying of cancer, which I think relates to what you said about religion, because if you cannot afford treatment, definitely you turn to God because that one is free.
I've seen people who can afford and they still turn to God. You know, maybe they want to save the money they have, but for me, it's not smart. Diagnostic centers are there, but they are inadequate. If I am in Niger State, for example, there are screenings that I need to do that I cannot have in Niger. I need to leave Niger and come to either Abuja or go to Shika in Zaria to be able to do these screenings. You know, so if people have to embark on those travels, they have cost implications. And many times people don't even have the money to travel to where they can have the diagnosis done.
True.
I know recently a 27-year-old girl who is in a very bad shape. I had to raise money for her and her mother to come to Abuja for screening. So, yes, there are, but there are few. We need to increase the diagnostic centers. If we want the disadvantaged people to have access to these facilities, then we need to take them to semi-urban areas and even to rural areas. Why not? That is what other countries have done, and that's why they have been very effective in saving lives.
But when it comes to this issue of cancer, a lot of us have this God forbid attitude towards it. Now we have organizations, NGOs, you know, hospitals like, let's say, Medicare, for example. They do this free screening, but people don't turn up. Why? Is it because the whole, you know, God forbid it shouldn't happen to me? Why don't people turn up when it's a case of cancer?
Well, they think it's a death sentence, and there are many reasons why that is so. But before maybe we get into all of that, which I'm sure we will in the course of the conversation, let me address the God forbid thing. I am a breast cancer survivor.
Wow.
This is my 10th year.
Wow.
I was diagnosed in December 2010.
Wow.
I was living a normal life. I was indeed a very happy person, highly energetic, successful career, traveling all over the world, doing my activism. I was very close to God. There was no reason I should have cancer. There was no history in my family of breast cancer. And then I got it.
Wow.
Now, we may say the God forbids as many times as we
possible.
can. But this is a disease that will happen in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And it just might be you, like it was me. So the God forbid doesn't work. And people who do God forbid, maybe they lack resilience skills. They don't have the skills to thrive and survive. So they are afraid of challenges. And that is why they will do God forbid, because they don't even want to confront it. The mere fact that there is the possibility or probability makes them shiver and recoil in fear, and they don't want to come out and encounter this truth. But it will happen to someone, and it just might be you. So don't do God forbid. Prepare your mind to fight.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
You fought and you won the battle. Now, as a cancer survivor, what were the challenges you faced, especially in this country like Nigeria? What were the challenges you faced?
Okay, that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
It is not the same today.
Okay.
10 years ago, many people weren't even talking about cancers.
True.
10 years ago, if you opened your mouth and said you were diagnosed of cancer, that was like, okay, no need investing money in this one. Let's let her go.
True.
Because it's just a waste of resources.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing was there at the time. The diagnostic centers were very few. Now, with all the every year October campaign since the past 10 years, we've gained traction and we are beginning to see improvement. But at that time, there were so very few diagnostic centers. And the way my cancer presented, it was very difficult to diagnose.
Wow.
I actually had to leave Nigeria for the diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very difficult because many people would think of a lump. I had no lump at all in my breast.
Wow.
It just itched one evening, and the itch was very bad. And I scratched as hard as it itched. And I felt a pop, like something broke, and the cold on my thumb, and then a dark brown stain on my T-shirt.
Wow.
And that's when life just froze. Like, I knew immediately what I was in for.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had to leave the country because when you have a lump, it's much easier. They can take sample from the lump and, you know, examine it. But there I was, no lump. And the discharge that was coming out could not tell what it was. And so it was risky to just stay here and assume that it will go away, you know, or pray it away. Sure. So I quickly moved to where they had the facilities to deal with the situation. Yeah. And even there, what they had to do was to do a preliminary surgery, take a breast duct and examine it. And then it came out malignant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Like, it's really amazing. Now, speaking of your own cancer and the way it presented itself, now when we talk of cancer, we're made to believe it starts with a lump. Yes. Yeah, like if you have breast cancer, they'll tell you raise your hand, you know, you feel something, and yours now, it's a different case, you didn't feel that. Now, we have cases where cancer, especially in this country, are diagnosed at a very last stage, when it's late and treatment is not effective. Now, let's take yours, for example, where it didn't present itself with the normal, you know, stuff we were told it would. How do you think such things can be prevented, like detected in time that, okay, people should know that cancer is not only a case of lump. It doesn't have to be lump, because we have different types of cancers that clearly don't produce.
And we are all different. So it doesn't present in different people the same ways. Never. Our particular peculiarities dictate how the cancer presents and acts in our bodies. And there are different strains of cancers, like you said. Yes. There are cancers of different parts of the body. True. In fact, all parts of the body can have a cancer. So some parts will be extremely difficult to diagnose unless someone goes to the hospital regularly for checkup. Otherwise, by the time they are noticing it, it has already done a lot of havoc.
But with the kind of hospitals we have, you can go there regularly for checkup. Sometimes they don't even detect these things until it's on the last stage.
I agree with you. But it's better still to have gone than never to have. True. Because most of us don't have a positive and good health-seeking behavior. So I know people who are in their 35s and 40s, and they still don't do an annual checkup. They don't even check and palpate the breast to see if there is that regular lump. You know, but if we want people to be able to diagnose early, we need to give accurate information. The breast cancer does not only present with a lump. It can present with a discharge from the nipple that is dark brown in color. It can present by suddenly observing that the breast is getting larger than the other one. It can present by the breast shrinking and getting smaller than the other.
So you spoke about, you know, the breast being bigger than the other. You observe that. You know, naturally, the human bodies are not equal. You find it that your boobs, one is actually bigger than the other. I had a dilemma one time when this whole breast cancer thing started. I was looking at my boobs, I was like, okay, wait a minute. One is actually, you know, bigger than the other. And I was thinking, could it be? You know, but then I later, you know, got to understand and realize that, okay, that's how the body is. So if we were to generalize on that, don't you think a lot of people would be panicking right now?
No, the bigger we are talking about is not the one that is bigger and you can still wear the same size of bra on two sides. You know, it has to be outstandingly bigger to the point that you may be considering changing the bra size of one breast. You know, but we do on average know which one is bigger. Usually it's the left. It's the first to come out. So it grows bigger than the one on the right. We can always monitor if we are used to our bodies to know when there is a change in the size. It has to be significant enough to cause us concerns. And once we have that, it's still not conclusive. We still need to see a doctor.
Okay, now speaking of cancer, I'm sure a lot of people also want to know what caused cancer. Because before, when you hear cancer, they'll tell you it's a family history thing, where probably maybe a grandma, an aunt, you know, somebody having it. But nowadays, you can drink water, they'll tell you you have cancer. So we need to know what is it that is causing this cancer, because it's gone from family history to anybody can have it.
Yeah, family history means it's genetic. It means that there is tendency for people to inherit a gene that makes their cells capable of behaving strangely, which is the cancer. Now, there are various other reasons why people may come down with cancer. One is lifestyle. There are lifestyles that people can adopt that put them at risk. You know, we know that smoking is dangerous and it could result in cancer of the lungs. Indiscriminate sexual behavior that is unprotected can lead to cervical cancer in women, even where it is not the woman who was having indiscriminate sex. Research in the 90s in Thailand established that women who are married to men who patronize sex workers without protection deposited a virus in them called human papillomavirus. And it is housed on the cervix and then results in cervical cancer over the years. Not exercising, not having adequate rest, not oxygenating the blood enough. In fact, anxiety and depression, these make the system acidic. It lowers our immunity And when there are a few radicals here and there in our body, we are incapable of dealing with them because we have overwhelmed the body with stress. And these are other reasons why this may happen. Now, our diet is very critical.
Okay.
We have shifted diet like radically. We don't eat the way people used to eat. We don't cook in the same pans that were used to cook.
Yeah.
We are constantly introducing, you know, carcinogens into our bodies. The plastic generation is what we have now. Everything is plastic. You know, everything is metal. And the kind of metal that our body cannot deal with, you know, like lead. And we've abandoned the earthenware pots. This is very risky. We want to drink tea, it's boiling water, we're pouring it into the plastic cup. And particles of that plastic are coming in. You know, plastic is not going, it's not organic.
Yeah.
It's not going to undergo the degeneration, decomposition process. So it goes into our bodies, and if we can't deal with it, or it's accumulating over time. The preservatives are all over the place. You know, a child is born now. We've not even seen anything else. Every day of their lives, they are taking one thing to the school that is either a concentrate or some manufactured stuff with preservatives. Like by the time they are my age, they would have consumed drums of preservatives and colorings.
True.
That is unhealthy, absolutely. And parents need to take note of that so they don't look back in generations to come and start to wonder, why is this thing rampant now? We are the ones building it up by the kind of lifestyles that we're adopting.
So we need to change our lifestyle
if we
want to prevent
certainly,
cancer.
Yeah.
Okay.